We continue our journey through Mark's Gospel today, reading the final chapter about Jesus' mission to Galilee. Next week, with the beginning of Lent, we will hear about Jesus' journey to Jerusalem. As Jesus' ministry in Galilee comes to an end, the story takes another different turn. We begin with another feeding of thousands story, another communion. But this time, it takes place on the Gentile side of the sea. This suggests that the way that Jesus proclaims is not just for the Jewish community, but for all people. The problem is that the disciples seem to be understanding less and less about the way that Jesus is teaching. And as a result, Jesus becomes heavy-hearted, wondering if they will ever be able to grasp what it means to live in God, despite all of his effort to open their hearts. Listen closely to the conversation between Jesus and his followers as this story unfolds, reading Mark 8, verses 1 to 30. In those days, when there was again a great crowd without anything to eat, Jesus called his disciples and said to them, "I have compassion for the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them away hungry to their homes, they will faint on the way, and some of them have come a great distance." His disciples replied, "How can one feed these people with bread here in the desert?" He asked them, "How many loaves do you have?" They said, 7. Then he ordered the crowd to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and after giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples to distribute. And they distributed them to the crowd. They also had a few small fish, and after blessing them, he ordered that these too should be distributed. They ate and were filled. And they took out the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. Now there were about 4,000 people, and he sent them away, and immediately he got into the boat with the disciples and went to the district of Dalmanutha. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, asking for a sign from heaven to test him. And Jesus sighed deeply in his spirit and said, "Why does this generation ask for a sign? Truly I tell you, no sign will be given to this generation." And he left them, and getting into the boat again, he went across to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to bring any bread, and they had only 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he cautioned them, saying, "Watch out, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the yeast of Herod." They said to one another, "It is because we have no bread." And becoming aware of it, Jesus said to them, "Why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not perceive or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes and fail to see? Do you have ears and fail to hear? And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000? How many baskets full of broken pieces did you collect?" They said to him, 12. "And the 7 for the 4,000? How many baskets of broken pieces did you collect?" And they said to him, 7. Then Jesus said to them, "Do you not yet understand?" They came to Bethsaida. Some people brought a blind man to him and begged him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. And when he had put saliva on his eyes and laid his hands on him, he asked him, "Can you see anything?" The man looked up and said, "I can see people, but they look like trees walking." Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he looked intently, and his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Then he sent him away to his home, saying, "Do not even go into the village." Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Thanks.